Welcome to the Architectural Technology Podcast. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Very good. I had a very interesting email today. The person was asking whether the software that I teach is any good for drawing buildings, which of course it is. But the other question, which was interesting, was, does it take long to master?
So, what's your opinion about that?
It depends what you mean by master,
Mhm.
because I always say to people that learning a CAD program is a little bit like learning to play chess. That
Mhm.
actually you can learn all the moves. Each piece is only allowed so many moves. So you can learn all the rules quite easily and quite quickly.
Yep.
But it takes people a long time to master, to become a master of chess.
Yeah.
Now
Some
that
people never reach it to become a grandmaster.
some people like me never get past the first hurdle. But what I was really thinking was, it's that definition of the word master. So maybe what we should say is proficient.
Yep.
You can learn all the rules of the CAD program, how to draw a line, how to draw a wall, how to put a window in, how to put a door in, how to create viewports, how to make a set of drawings. And we teach our students this all the time. And we get
Yeah.
our students to produce a set of drawings and learn ArchiCAD in one semester.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And they're not even working on it full time. And
No.
so if you were working in an office and you had to learn ArchiCAD or Revit, I think you would probably learn in the first week, you would learn all of the basics in the first week. And probably by the end of the month, you would be proficient.
Yeah,
Does that
probably.
sound about right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. But what about to be a master?
A master. So, what's the definition of master? How
Yeah,
proficient
exactly.
are
That's
you?
the whole problem. We have to
Yeah.
define what we mean.
Yeah.
So if I was talking about my software, Vectorworks, a master would be someone who knew how to do things like create reports, how to manage reports, how to understand, and not just use a report, but understand how to manage that report, how to fix it if it's wrong. And my guess is that if you worked full time for a year, you would become a master of Vectorworks. And I'm thinking the Revit would be the same. And I think ArchiCAD might be shorter because there's some things that are not so challenging. Unless you say that the master is able to program that software.
I mean, like a software designer or writing a code within the software or
I
what?
was, think- I was thinking about what you were saying in one of our previous podcasts, Ethan, where you talked about somebody asking you about your students. Oh, can they write an app for Revit? And we just don't have the students long enough to teach them that coding to become that kind of master.
Yeah, no time because we only have 16 weeks and 16 weeks, including all the assessments and feedback. So that's 16 weeks. So that's actual teaching hours is less than that. So we also need to cover the basics. So that's while we are covering the basics, that 16 weeks is totally gone. So no time to teach them how to write code or software. Yeah. So that's the
Because that's
problem.
basically half a day a
Mm.
week for 16 weeks.
Yes.
So it's actually only 8 days, isn't it?
8 days. Yeah.
So 8 full days.
Right.
So I just wondered if you had some thoughts about people wanting to learn the basics or become a master, or if you had some advice.
Okay, let's say what if you face an interview situations like you came to New Zealand and you don't know because I have friends like that, and he came to New Zealand. He's the boss of an architectural firm. He rarely draw, so he just give a concept. But now he is with his family and he has no time to draw. So now he need to master to get a job. So what is the advice to him, or what he needs to know how to draw with these kind of software? So when he had job advertisement,
It depends on a lot of it depends on the nature of the projects. I was really fortunate. I lived in London, and I lived in London at a time when it was booming.
yeah,
And we used to get people who didn't actually know how to use MicroStation, and they would say they did.
yeah,
And because the projects were so big and there were so many people in the projects, that you could actually fumble around for a few days as you picked up skills, so that by the time they found out you didn't know how to use it, you'd actually learn some skills. And there was a time when I was working in London where people would get fired within 2 days because someone figured out they didn't know how to use AutoCAD. But in that 2 days, they'd learned enough skill that the next job they went to, they could say, oh yeah, I can use AutoCAD. And they were 2 days ahead by that stage. There's a story, I think one of my colleagues tells the story that he got a job where he had to use Revit. And he said, yes, I know how to use Revit or AutoCAD. I think this might have been in London. So he went down to Foyle's bookstore, bought the Bible of whatever program it was. In those days, you could buy books. And he studied it all weekend to figure out how to use that program. And then when he got to work, he could use it. And of course, I wasn't quite as bad as that because I actually had my job before we went to MicroStation. So they sent me away for training. But I had that MicroStation Bible on my desk and I would open it. Oh, how do you do this? You'd read through it and learn how to do it. These days with the internet, you could probably find a good bunch of YouTube movies, download a trial version. I think if you really had to, you could become proficient in a weekend.
Yeah, possible. If you want to learn, you can learn it quite easily, and you can sign up with the whether education's account or trial account. During the trial period, he or she can get proficient. That's what I think.
We would teach our students to use ArchiCAD, and we would have, as I said, 8 full days.
8 working days. Yes.
So if you were desperate, you could spend, you get the job. So you got 4 days to learn it, but you got the evenings as well.
Yeah.
So you could, if you really wanted to, you could probably capture that 8 days in that short space of time.
As soon as he is successful for his interview, waiting for the offer letter, just start doing it.
Start learning. Because I think in a week, and remember that we're only talking about regular days, regular work days. So that's 8. What are the days at college? The days at college are only 6 hours long.
Yeah.
So that's 8, 6 8s to 48. So that's 48 hours in total.
Yeah.
So you got 48 hours, you got 2 days, you could learn it, just don't go to sleep. But it was just answering this question for this person who got in touch with me. And my answer to them was to say that you can become proficient in a week.
Yeah.
But to become a guru, to become a master, takes a lot longer. And you need to gradually develop that knowledge, that information. I used to teach Vectorworks in 3 days. I'd do a foundation course in 3 days.
And one of the codes I was teaching is it's not just about writing a drawing, making a drawing, presenting a drawings. And also students need to write a report about what kind of obstacle they encounter during this project. For example, like clash detections, or they can't get they can't go to another view, or what is the lessons learned and how did they figure it out? It was quite interesting how it was set up. So the thing is, because even when you started drawings, sometimes you don't really know, because if you're not drawing day to day, you don't really, sometimes you forgot, oh, where's the button? I used to have it. And now, where is it? So that's what happened.
So that was my belief, is that you could become proficient in a week, passable in a week.
Yeah, possible.
But to become a master, that's quite different. That requires a lot of input. And I was going to say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at anything. But I know that 10,000 hours was just a number somebody picked out of the air. And I don't believe there is an actual study that says that. But what it relates to is about 2,000 workable hours in a year. And that's basically saying in 5 years, you'll be a master.
5 years, you should be a manager.
Yeah. So that means things like if you're doing your architectural qualifications, how long do you have to study to become a master of architecture? And I don't mean the qualification to become registered as an architect. And about 5 years is the time it takes to get that.
You need to present, because to finish to be fair, if you do a big project, it takes 5 years from start to finish. And along the way, you learn all the things. So that's fair. So, okay, some projects are faster than other. 5 years is fair, a professional interview or professional review.
Yeah. So I think it's misleading in a way to ask how long does it take to master, because what they should say is how long will it take me to be proficient?
Cool. So shall we wrap it up?
Would love to hear your comments. If anyone's got a comment, please don't go to Spotify, become a subscriber, leave a comment. Let us know whether you think we're on the right track. And if you've got an idea for something you'd like to hear us talk about, leave a comment.
See you next week.
See you next week, Ethan. Bye.